This small piece of gold is causing a major health and environmental calamity.
What is going on is wickedness, it's environmental terrorism, and can be stopped yesterday if the political will is there.
But are the miners willing to stop? I travel to Ghana's illegal mining sites and they tell me,
when it comes to environmental degradation, all human activity degrades the environment one way or the other. That's something that must be understood.
With cocoa production declining and health risks rising, can Ghana save its agriculture and people before it is too late? To understand the driving force behind illegal mining, I traveled to Wase Kropong in Ghana's western region. This area is part of the country's gold belt. For me, this story is personal. I am Ghanaian and cocoa farming is part of my family's history. But to be clear, gold mining has existed alongside farming and other forms of economic activity in this country. The major difference now is this: the scale of mechanization involved and the land area being destroyed. First, the excavator removes the topsoil. Then young people, mostly men, dig up the soil. It is hard, back-breaking work. They are unsure what exactly they are going to find, but they are hopeful. Once the topsoil is loosened, the miners use water hoses to create a sludge. This sludge is run over a carpet in the hopes that the fine gold particles will be caught. Later, the carpet is washed and mercury, a dangerous chemical, is added to the mixture. Mercury is the killer. It can affect babies in the womb. For adults, death comes slowly. It can stay in the soil for decades, poisoning fish and finding its way into crops. It is Ghana's biggest threat right now, but these miners use it every single day. We'll talk more about mercury soon. For this story, I meet up with an illegal miner. Let's call him Kojo.
I was into banking for about 9 years and then I left. Initially, I started investing in this business. I realized I couldn't do it part-time. I had to come in full-time lest I lose all my money.
There are a lot of people that I've spoken to who came into illegal mining because they didn't have a job. But you clearly had one. And even by Ghanaian standards, a prestigious one at that. Why did you decide to leave your banking job to do illegal mining?
And the dream I have is quite big. I want to go into processing ultimately, cocoa processing.
Is it then not ironic that we are sitting in the middle of a cocoa farm and you are destroying this cocoa farm?
At some point, we will stop. And one of the things which would cause or which will attract people to stop selling their cocoa farms is when they're able to get higher prices for their cocoa beans.
Galamsey attracts teachers, dressmakers, and even former journalists. In this job, they are able to earn more than their original profession. But it gets worse. Below this vast expanse is a web of tunnels burrowed deep into the ground. One of the miners shows me what they call underground mining.
We call this kind of work ghetto mining. We go underground to mine gold rocks. We bring these rocks up and crush them to find gold.
These tunnels periodically cave in, killing miners. Aside from that, the open pits pose a danger to the rest of the community. In sub-Saharan African countries, around 10 to 12 million young people enter the labor market competing for only 3 million new jobs in the formal sector every single year. This creates a mismatch between demand and supply for employment.
I completed senior high school in 2017 and was unemployed for 4 years. Galamsey was my only option. This job has helped me pay my child's school fees.
I graduated from vocational school, but I couldn't find work. I learned dressmaking 6 years ago. I tried starting a business, but that didn't work. So I came here to do galamsey.
Even though this industry is illegal, estimates say that these miners contribute nearly 20% to global gold mineral production. Illegal mining is not only a problem in Ghana. It is happening in Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Burkina Faso, and many other African countries. With gold prices soaring, the galamsey operators are willing to pull all-night shifts. This is what it's all about. It might not look like much, but this is 1.2 grams of gold worth 1,400 cedis or $90. With the government's daily minimum wage at $2, today's find is worth more than 17 times what an average worker in Ghana would earn. The next day, Kojo takes the week's find to be purified and weighed.
Tuesdays and Thursdays are our big days. On these days, we purify gold several times, sometimes up to 50 pounds, that is 23 kgs. On days when business is slow, we sometimes process around 40 to 30 pounds.
For the gold miners, business is great. But for everyone else, this is a nightmare. Forests are being destroyed. Cocoa farms are getting cut down. The mercury and other chemicals used in the processing either seep into the ground or end up in rivers. The destruction of galamsey touches every single part of this country. The NGO Water Aid calls what's happening in Ghana an ecocide or an ecological suicide. I asked Kojo what he makes of the environmental destruction.
Government needs to heavily regulate this industry. There's a lot of indiscipline on the part of miners. Honestly, I'm a miner myself. I try as much as possible to do certain things right, but there are so many people who do not do it that way. In the end, it comes down to the fact that all of us are pulled into the same group.
So far, regulation has failed. The need to find gold trumps all other social needs, not even the health or safety of the country's future generation. This is one of the many basic schools in Wase Kropon, and as you can see, right behind the school are excavators and miners searching for gold. This is illegal. School authorities tell me they are helpless against the influence of the miners. The use of heavy-duty machinery creates plumes of dust. The water is unsafe, and the mounds of sand could easily collapse on the school. Sadly, the school has had to relocate once because mining was getting too close to their buildings, but that is happening all over again. The lure of gold is so strong that farmers are willingly selling their farmlands to prospectors, and those who are unwilling to sell, the costs can be high.
If you look at the edge of my cocoa farm, the miners have dug a huge pit. Water that should nourish my crop ends up in that pit. That is why you see these trees dying.
This is happening everywhere. Farmers are either being forced to sell or threatened. Because of the quick returns of illegal mining, many young farmers are also leaving agriculture. Back in Accra, I meet with Lydia Oay, who has been researching artisanal and small-scale mining for years. She says finding a proper balance between saving the environment and exploiting mineral resources is a difficult task for Ghana.
We have been mining for over 1,000 years, and the deposits are still, even though these are exhaustible deposits, yes, but we haven't gotten to that stage where things have gotten bad, isn't it? So people will continue to mine, and again, the government is dependent on gold. So whatever revenue we are getting from gold, it should be used, some aspect of that should also be used in taking care of the environment.
Dr. Oay admits that part of the problem is that many miners do not understand the full implication of their actions.
The government doesn't do any form of training. If the miners are fortunate enough, they can have maybe an NGO come there to sensitize them about the effects or the health hazards associated with their work. Besides that, government leaves them and they do their own thing.
The lack of education in an industry that has no regulation has led to this. In Ghana today, scenes such as this are very common. Recent estimates say about 4,726 hectares of land, more than the size of European cities like Athens and Brussels, have been destroyed in 7 of the country's 16 regions. The government's land reclamation project is struggling to keep pace with the destruction. That is what inspired Aaron Ejapong, this young environmentalist.
There are different types of reclamation. So there is a reclamation where you cover the land and then you plant trees, just as you are seeing. There is also reclamation where you add, you use certain methods, soil remediation methods like biochar, activated charcoal, to reclaim the land. That is when you are trying to get the poisonous contaminants out of the land.
This section of forest was planted only 3 years ago, and already it has become the home of some animals that were forced to leave due to mining. Save Our Lands projects hopes to reverse the devastating impact of illegal mining and degraded lands. So far, this organization has restored about 300 acres of land, but unless thoroughly tested, the land can still be toxic.
During the galamsey activities, they use certain chemicals. Mercury is the most dominant, and this mercury goes into the land. If you plant something right now, it comes fine, and then you eat it, you are consuming that mercury. And right now, the quantity or the mercury substance in the land is way too much in terms of healthy consumption. If you keep consuming food from such land, 5, 10, 15 years, you are going to give birth, the child comes with one hand or maybe no ear.
These trees represent how Ghana's illegal mining sites could look like, because reforestation has been proven to help nature heal itself. But the challenges are enormous. On the boundaries of restored land, illegal miners constantly are threatening to go back in.
When we come to reclaim a degraded land, we sit down, we have a conversation, and then we go into an agreement. Once we reclaim the land, it cannot be used for galamsey activities for the next 70 years. That is the agreement that we have with you, we have with the stakeholders before we attempt to reclaim.
This agreement is not always respected. Save Our Lands projects shows what is possible, but given the scale of the problem, a lot more needs to be done. My conversation with miners and farmers convinces me of one thing. Ghana's government has lost the fight for the country's future. At this rate, the country's beloved cocoa pods will soon be gone. But that is not the worst of it. Illegal mining is literally killing Ghana, not just those alive, but future generations.